Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. Thank God it's Monday. Well, that was Pete Tessier's shortest appearance on the show. I don't even know he went live. He should be back any second. Well, we have two Super Bowl combatants. I'm not sure if that's what Russ is going to talk about, but we'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I'll mention it just in the sense of the risk management part of what Dan Campbell was doing in the Lions game. You know, I'm of the belief that once in a while, go for it on fourth down. I don't care what analytics say, because I don't think analytics, when you set analytics during the regular season, matters in the postseason. Plus, it doesn't matter to the team you're playing against. Now, maybe they get a report about that that's tailor-made to that team, maybe. But my point is, and Rex Ryan was right, and I did get that feeling. The point where the Lions were up by 14, could have been up by 17, is when they should have kicked the field goal. Anytime you could extend your lead to 17 in a playoff game, you have to do it, because you don't know what's going to happen, if there's going to be a fumble or whatever. Even from your perspective, later in the game, and you've got a little cushion there, and they just went for the death knell, you know. And I get doing that because they did it during the regular season, but this is the same problem that I told you I have with the Eagles head coach, with Sirianni, going for it on fourth down all the time. Fourth down all the time doesn't work, and clearly we learned it doesn't work in the playoffs.
Right. Well, I was sort of rooting for Detroit, because Detroit is sort of like Buffalo in the sense they haven't won an NFL championship since 1957. They've won one going into this playoffs. They've won one playoff game in the last 30 years. I know people who are rooting for the Lions, so I wasn't like rooting against them. But my main goal in this playoff is to have Kansas City not win. So I'm like, who could better beat Kansas City? And it's San Francisco or Detroit. And I'm like, okay, I think San Francisco has a better chance of beating Kansas City, but not to say Detroit couldn't have beaten them. But you're up 24-7 in San Francisco. And I saw some people who were commenting on this game. They had gashed San Francisco for like 150 yards rushing in the first half. And I don't know what other game it was, but they just stopped rushing. Oh, it was Miami. When Miami played Buffalo in the last game of the regular season, they were gashing the Bills with running, and then they stopped running in the second half. And like, why? Why did you stop? They were throwing the ball. I mean,
Baltimore did the same thing. They stopped. They basically, you could tell they didn't want Lamar Jackson to run. And there were times where he could have gashed them for big yards, and they wanted him to stay in the pocket. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes you got to abandon that game plan.
Yeah. Peter, you're that, right?
Yeah, I'm here. I can see my camera.
Yeah, no,
we can't see you, though. You're kind of like the invisible man.
This is bizarre.
Yeah, no, I mean, after you comment on this, sign off and sign back on if you can.
Yeah, that'll probably fix it.
Yeah.
It's happened to
But I don't know how much you watch these games.
Oh, yeah, I watched them both.
Okay,
I had a very interesting comment I saw from Jason Cole about the analytics of fourth down doesn't take into account the emotional part of preparing for it, depending where you are, and the outcome if you fail and what that does.
Right.
I also think the Lions made a bit of a poor decision on time management, because they had 3 timeouts.
Right.
They could have kicked a field goal because they needed one anyways, and then try to get the ball back where their defense was playing well, and they could have held to the 49ers to 3 downs and out and still had time.
They didn't do that, Pete, because Campbell was saying that they were bleeding the clock, so I think he was trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, they were they were so close in terms of they're on the 1 yard line. They had to go for the touchdown, but the mistake was taking the timeout. You know what? Let the clock bleed down to 40 seconds. Call your play, get the touchdown, and then you have the 3 timeouts. The third timeout was more important than 15 seconds on the clock. Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, okay, I can see the argument for kicking the field goals instead of going for it on fourth down. The thing was, and Campbell said it, and maybe it's BS, but they've been doing that all year. They've been going for 2-point conversions all year. They've been going for fourth down and short. And I think that the stat was they had made it 20 of 23 times. The point is the guys didn't catch the ball. I mean, Williams, the receiver, Reynolds dropped the ball a couple times. Some of the passes weren't great, but some of them hit them in the hands and they didn't catch them. And so, I mean, I was sad for Detroit. But like I said, I think San Francisco has the best chance of beating Kansas City. And I have to say this, going to the other game, first of all, Lamar Jackson is a choke artist. There's no doubt. I'm sorry, you cannot say he's not.
Zay Flowers choke. I think Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers is, and I told you this morning. Zay Flowers is symptomatic of this punk nature in the NFL right now, where every time you get a first down, you got to hold the ball out and drop it. Every time you make a catch, you got to stand over the guy. Okay, he gets a taunting penalty. He catches the ball on the 9-yard line. Okay, he catches the ball on the 9-yard line. Two PTSAs there. I don't know. It was weird. Okay, he's got the ball. He catches the ball. It was an underthrown ball. Now Pete's locked up here. It was an underthrown ball. He catches it. He runs it down to the 9-yard line. He beats Snead, who's their best cornerback. Okay, so what does he do? He drops the ball. He I'm kicking him from the studio, so maybe when he comes back, it'll be all straightened out. He gets up. He shoves him. They don't give him a flag. He stands over him. They don't give him a flag. Then he spins the ball, and then they finally give him the flag. There's like, oh, what a bad call. No, he did 3 things that during the regular season you would have been called for taunting. You moron. I mean, that's
and then he cuts his hand on the bench and he's a non-factor the rest of the game.
And he's slamming his hands and he cuts his hand. I mean, I'm sorry.
Then Odell Beckham Jr. wakes up for a set of downs. Like, where was he all game?
I don't know. All I know is, and he is not unique. Now, he's a rookie. You could say, youthful indiscretion. Fine, whatever.
You know what? I'm cutting him before I looked up his contract.
You're not cutting him. He's a first-round pick.
I don't care. He has a $410,000 signing bonus. I'm cutting him, and I'm cutting him before I have to pay that. I don't care. Somebody else could have him.
Well, that they're not cutting him. But
if Bill Belichick had him, and this was the height of the Patriots, he would cut him.
Even if he's a first-round pick.
Yeah, he wouldn't care.
Yeah, but the point is, and I don't know if anybody in the chat was chiming back on this. He caught the next pass. He got the first down there. Now they're back to the 9-yard line. He catches a ball at the goal line and he reaches out and Snead, the guy that he punked, punches the ball out of his hand and it goes for a touchdown. So they lost a touchdown there. They lost a touchdown on Lamar throwing into double coverage.
Yeah,
they're a choke team, and I was watching ESPN First Take. I resent, as a Buffalo fan, lumping in Josh Allen and what he did this year to Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson is a choke artist. Josh Allen didn't lose that game against Kansas City. The Buffalo defense did, and the kicker.
I think that's true. The only thing I would say about Lamar is, had they taken the shackles off him and he was able to run a little bit in that game, it would have helped a lot, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, so we'll try to get Pete back here. What's that? I'm sorry, say that again.
I said Pete who?
Oh, Central Time Zone Pete.
I'm like an NFL coach. If you're not here now, I have no use for you.
Okay, Bill. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, January 29th, 2024.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology. You can read my new NHL draft rankings at NHLDraftBuzz.com. Thank you.
I'm Pete Tessier. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, we'll start with I wanted to talk about Toronto, Winnipeg, but I need Pete to talk about that. Let's start with the and we know that between now and March the 8th, all we're going to be talking about is rumors and trades. pretty much. So let's get started with the teams that we know. I mean, this is the thing. I'm looking at the standings at the All-Star break, and I know there's a few games to go. It's weird. Like most of the league is off. Most of the league.
I know there's 3-4 teams playing still.
Yeah, and that's weird. So are those teams? I'm assuming those teams are going to get that week break like after the All-Star break instead of before. I'm not sure.
Right.
But okay. So right now. In the East, the second wildcard team, which is Detroit, has 57 points. There's a 5-point gap between them and the Islanders, a 6-point gap between Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and Washington. So they're within shouting distance, but as we know, 6 points is tough to make up. Yeah. So I don't think the Islanders are going to sell. I don't think. Now, Pittsburgh might. New Jersey won't.
No.
Washington probably won't. But the rest of the teams will probably sell. Mm-hmm. And that's Buffalo, Montreal, Columbus, and Ottawa. In the West, LA and St. Louis are tied. This is a funny thing. LA was in third place and, home and cooled out for a playoff spot.
That was a month ago, Mike.
They've lost 13 of 15 games.
Yeah.
And now they're 1 point out of missing the play. They're right now, LA and St. Louis are at 54. You've got Nashville at 53, Seattle at 52, and then it drops off to Arizona at 49 and Calgary.
St. Louis is showing some resiliency again. They are.
Who is?
St. Louis. They had another big win yesterday, and
they've won 5 in a row. So
Bennington's been good, like I said.
Yeah, but in terms of what we're going to discuss, Arizona, Calgary. I think we both think that whoever's UFAs on those teams, they're probably going to sell. They're 5 points out, but right now Minnesota, even though Bill Guerin says we're not going to sell. Yeah. Minnesota, Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago are all sellers. So
I'm going to mention one thing about San Jose before we do the sellers thing.
Yeah.
So when they traded for Timo Meier, they got Fabian Zetterlund, who I like a lot. They got Andreas Johansson, big deal. And I think they got Shaq and a first-round pick, right? I think that was the deal.
Correct.
And Shaq just made his debut, so we'll see how he does. Fabian Zetterlund has 14 goals. You know how many Timo Meier has? 9. You know how many points Timo Meier has? 18.
Yeah, and he's got the big contract. And
he's got minus 23.
I mean, Zetterlund is playing on their number one line. He's playing with Hurdle. So
yeah, I mean, this has been a good trade for San Jose. Got to say.
Well, I'm just looking up. Oh, there's Peter.
So this is my thing for the Devils. When you're in buying mode, don't be so quick to trade Alexander Holtz because you already traded these guys and the return did not help you. That's all.
No, and I'm looking up right now to see, because I know it was a monstrous deal, but I'm just okay. The first round pick that they traded in that deal turned out to be Musty, and I think Musty's going to be a really good player.
That's going to be one of the best trades in Sharks history.
Yeah, Quentin Musty, who's from the Buffalo area. He's
having a phenomenal year too.
Phenomenal year with Sudbury. Big kid, 6'2", 200. Probably will play for Team USA at the World Junior next year. He didn't make it this year. I have a feeling the reason he didn't make it was because he was playing in the OHL, not playing in the USHL or in the US developmental program. But usually they let those guys play when they're 19 because they're good. But anyway, that was a phenomenal deal for San Jose because
very impactful already.
Yeah, and I mean, who's to know? They traded Carlson, and they had to trade that contract because it was a boat anchor. But they've got other ones. They've got other ones that are. I mean, like, can they move Logan Couture? Can they find somebody sucker to take?
Somebody would take. I'll tell you who would have taken him had they been in the race would be Ottawa because he's from the area and they love him there.
Right, but he's got. Peter, are you there? Your video locked up. He's not there. Okay. He's having. I don't know. It's got to be. It's got to be internet issues or something.
It's Peter Tessier hologram day.
All right. So start with Anaheim because Eck wrote about this in on his blog today. If you look at the Anaheim Ducks right now, and you look at who they might trade at the deadline, and here's the thing: they have they have significant cap space,
so they can weaponize it.
They can weaponize it. So that means these players that they have that are UFAs, they can retain 50%. Now I'm just looking to see if they've retained on. Yeah, they haven't retained on anybody, so they can do that for UFAs. They can do that.
Right.
Okay. So Silfverberg, I don't think a few years ago I thought people, teams would be interested in him. He's only got 5 goals this year, Russ. I mean, he might be done. He's 33 years old.
Yeah, he's not the biggest guy. He's dropped off.
Yeah, he's dropped off significantly. He's gonna be somebody who next year may sign a veteran minimum contract somewhere if he doesn't go back to Sweden. But his days of making big money in the NHL are over with. But the UFAs who might get interest, one is Adam Henrique, the other. Another is Ilya Lyubushkin, and to a lesser extent, Sam Carrick, only because Sam Carrick has been in the NHL off and on the last few years. He's an $850,000 cap hit, and teams looking for forward depth and veteran forward depth might be willing to say, okay, if we can get him for a mid-round pick, why not?
Well, Sam Carrick was good in Mike and the Mechanics, too. He was.
That's Paul.
It's Paul. Okay.
Sam Carrick was good as a Toronto Marley. Former Leaf draft pick.
I think Henrique might be a guy that goes to the Rangers. That's the funny thing because he knows the area. He could be a third-line center for them, and I don't think the cost would be major for him.
Well, okay, that's the question because his name has been connected to the Vancouver Canucks. And I have no idea what Pat Verbeek is asking for Henrique, but when you consider that the center market right now is Lindholm, Henrique, Monahan, and
I think it's going to be Niels Höglander because the Canucks don't use him right. I think it would be Höglander.
Yeah, but I'm talking about rentals, and he's not a rental. He's retainable. He's an RFA, I think, after this year.
Right.
So I mean,
but they still might trade him, even though he's for a rental, simply because.
Oh, he might be the guy
used for him.
He might be the guy who goes the other way.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he's 23. He's making $1.1 million. He's retainable after next season. But, and I heard this. I said this, and I thought, as usual, I was being the unreasonable one, in terms of what teams are asking for. Well, teams are asking for Lekkerimäki. They're asking for other Willander. They're asking for their top prospects because they know Vancouver wants to make a run.
Nobody's giving a top prospect for Adam Henrique. Sorry.
Well, and that's the question. Okay, so if we're talking draft picks, I don't think they're getting a first. They might get a second, maybe a conditional second. But the thing is, does it go up to a 1 if they retain 50% of his salary?
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
I think there's a possibility of that. Sure.
Because his cap hit is still $3 million after you retain, almost $3 million after you retain. I mean, I think that mitigates his value. So I mean, maybe they get a second.
Mitigates his value, and you do have to trade someone that has a little bit of cap on them because most teams can't even take $3 million. Like I don't know.
So say it's the Rangers.
Right.
Who are they trading back that's got a little cap hit that they can move to get Henrique?
Well, it would have been Bonino, but they sent him down. So
well, they could still send. I mean, it's not on their cap anymore. That's true.
No, that's the point. You got to do it with somebody that's on their cap.
I mean, I'm looking right now.
Like Jones makes enough.
You're not moving Capo Caco.
No, they're not going to move Caco.
You're not moving Lindgren. Here's the
thing, Mike.
Okay.
If they get a less than favorable report on Philip Hedl, they could just trade his contract.
Well, it didn't not come out that the Rangers said he's out for the season.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a question of whether
they LTIR him, and then if they could trade his contract eventually.
Yeah, if another team thinks that he is, that he can play in the future. I mean, it's a big risk. He's got 3 more years at $4.4 million, and if we don't know what
LTIR. That's my whole point. You could let Anaheim worry about that.
Right. It's a question of whether they're willing to roll the dice on a player that could be good, but might have chronic concussion.
You give him Hedl, you give him that second-round conditional pick, you let them retain, and even if they ask for a lower-level prospect, you do it.
Right.
That may be the way. That's probably palatable.
Yeah. Now, again, Carrick is somebody who maybe you get a mid-round pick for. You would say that you'd get a mid-round pick for Ilya Lyubushkin, and I know you giggle at him, but he's a right-hand shot.
No, he's got a place.
Yeah, he's a bottom-pairing right-hand shot defenseman who's physical. He's fairly mobile. He's not slow. To me, a contending team that needs defensive depth. He's never going to score you a bunch of points, but if you need a right-hand shot who's a 6 or a 7, now he's making $2.75 million, and you probably need.
They can retain. They never
retain. And now I think you can get like a 3rd-round pick for him.
3rd rounder, yeah.
I think that's
or they like a B or C prospect, probably a C.
But he is somebody that I think that Anaheim can get something for.
Well, Bushkin can help the Leafs again.
Yeah, but he could. Yeah, he could. I mean, they right now. I mean, I think they're looking for something. Every indication is that Treliving is willing to trade a mid-round pick, but not willing to trade anything higher for somebody who's a rental. That if it's somebody who is retainable after this year, that they're interested, but not somebody – because really, I wrote about this today. Okay, they're 6 points up on a playoff spot. So right now they're in a good position. Okay, so if they finish 3rd in the Atlantic, they play Florida. If they finish in the first wild card, they play the Rangers and whoever wins the Metro. If they finish in the second wild card, they play Boston. In all 3 of those matchups, they're the underdog. Why would they be trading future assets to on the minute prospect of beating any one of those 3 teams? And this is a year where, like I said, you find out what you have within the organization. You keep your powder dry. You go in the offseason and you upgrade your defense and you move on from there. You don't trade Cowan or Minton or your first or Nyes or anybody, one of those guys. You just don't do it. Now, here's the thing. Boy, San Jose's got a lot of UFAs, but they've got a lot of UFAs that nobody wants.
Yeah. They kind of were a dumping ground.
Right. Well, but here's the problem. They've retained on Carlson. They've retained on Burns. So they can only retain on one more player.
Right.
So, okay. Does Kevin LeBanc have any value?
I mean, he's a power play guy at this point, so I don't think anybody would want him.
He's got 2 goals in 32 games.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So I would say no, especially is Mike Hoffman, does he have any value at $4.5 million?
No.
Scoring 8 goals in 47 games? No. I think Duclair has value.
Yeah, there's no question Duclair.
Now, Duclair, $3 million cap hit. He's got speed. He's played in the playoffs. He's only got 8 goals in 44 games, I think, but people know how good he is and how fast he is. I mean, I could see Florida trading for him again because
his salary's low.
Right. Now, somebody in the chat was saying about Alexander Barabanov. I mean, he had a good year a couple years ago that earned him a contract. He did
I know, but I don't know who he fits with. That's my issue.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like last year, 47 points, but he was minus 30.
Yeah.
This year, 3 goals in 29 games. Okay, I mean, if it's a team,
tells me that having to play more responsible sucked the life out of his offense.
So he'd be a perfect fit for the Buffalo Sabres, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Ryan Carpenter, the former Ranger, Justin Bailey. Yeah, I mean, I think other than Duclair, I think the guy that get the most value for is Kaapo Kähkönen for a team that is looking for a goaltender. He has not.
Think his value's good anymore.
He has not played badly for them, Russ. I mean,
I know, but he doesn't get talked about a lot. I mean,
no, but I mean, to have a .901 save percentage with an AHL team.
I know, but the problem is this. This is the problem. Let's say you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? Let's say Samsonov goes down and they trade for him. Do you feel good about starting the playoffs with him as your goalie?
No, Wall's their goalie.
Well, just saying if Wall's out of the way or something. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
Teams out there that
I think a team would trade for him as a 1B or as a backup, not as the starter, not as the guy who's going to come in and save the bacon.
But why am I trading for the 1B unless
because there might not be that. There might not be the 1A out there. I mean, who's the best goalie on the market?
For example, Colorado's surviving the way they are. Why are they going to trade? Why would they trade for him? Colorado.
Who?
No, Georgiev's playing line share, but he's dealing with it.
They need a number 2 behind. They need a number 2 behind Georgiev.
They might not.
What's that?
They might not. This could
be. Okay, I'm saying if Joe Sakic thinks they need a number 2 behind Georgiev, obviously Georgiev is going to play every minute. But right now, are you gonna feel safe if Georgiev goes down with a strained groin in Game 4 of the second round? Are you gonna feel good with Ivan Prosvetov as your goaltender?
I mean, as good as Kähkönen, yeah, probably. I
think Kähkönen's better, but yeah, no. Like Randy is saying, Kings are most desperate right now. I don't think. Well, first of all, I don't think San Jose's trading with LA, and LA
needs better than Cam Talbot. He's not.
LA needs a better goalie than Cam Talbot, and Kähkönen is he's got as many question marks as Talbot does. Okay, so I mentioned Buffalo, so let's talk about Buffalo.
How much can we talk about Buffalo?
Yeah, no, just briefly here. They've got 5 UFAs. Eric Comrie, again, he's in the backup category. If Laurent Brosseau went down in Winnipeg, they know Comrie. They might trade for him, but I don't think he's got much value out there. And I do think, ironically, Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News, I said yesterday that when Devin Levi got sent down, that it was probably for the All-Star break and he'd play a couple games and he'd be back up. Mike Harrington is reporting that Levi might be down, not for good, but for the balance of the season, and they may just play him down there and stick with Comrie and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And if they do that, then they keep Comrie because then they're going to keep Levi down for the rest of the year. I'll believe it when I see it because they've been very
something though, don't you believe?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. I mean, I'm not disputing his sources. And if he's been told that, I mean, it's a little bit of a surprise because they've sent him down twice to get work. And now all of a sudden they're sending him down. They're going to keep him down there.
They might finally just acquiesce. This is the right thing to do.
They may finally realize. And the thing is, they're 9 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, they're shot.
Yeah, they need to get him consistent work. Now, Esmir says, would you take a look at Victor Olofsson?
I mean, I think a team like Pittsburgh, whose power play has been, up and down, might take him, but they're not going to give him a ton for him.
But here's the problem. 2 problems with Victor Olofsson. He scored 20 goals, 28 goals, 20 goals in 3 seasons. This year, 4 goals, 8 assists in 33 games. He's been in and out of the lineup because he doesn't play consistent defense. But when they're having problems scoring, they're putting him in. But they're not putting him on the top 6. They're putting him on the 3rd or 4th line, which defeats the purpose.
It does. They've killed his trade value, actually.
Yeah, the other thing is he's a $4.75 million cap hit. Even if they retain 50%.
Yeah, it's a lot. Pittsburgh
That's a
can't
lot.
do that. Yeah.
That's $2.3 million. So
I don't think anybody's taking them. Nobody.
I don't think anybody's taking them. So Zemgus Girgensons, 4 goals. I don't think there's much
He's just a guy.
Kyle Oposo, he's the captain. There's talk of maybe this is his last year.
Great guy, but
he's a leader. I don't think they trade him because I think it would gut the room. Maybe
right.
if he wants to go someplace, like if he wants to go back to the island, if they're contending.
God forbid you gut the room there. I mean, how much worse could they get?
Right. The guy who seems to be.
Now, I mean, you did say it in passing, but since the island couldn't get Zach Parise, I wouldn't put him past them trying to get Okposo. I do think there's something to that, actually.
Yeah. The guy who seems to be getting the most mention is Eric Johnson. And again, veteran guy, over 35, $3.25 million contract. If they retain 50%, it's 1.6 for a team looking for defensive depth. I mean, I know that he left Colorado as a free agent, but Colorado might be somebody if they're looking for depth. He's loved in the organization. The play, he's best friends with everybody. He cried when he went back to Colorado, and
I will tell you that's a possibility for Colorado. I would also tell you New Jersey could be a possibility, and I also think the Rangers could be a possibility for him.
Yeah. Now, here's the one I don't get, and again, Elliot Friedman has forgotten more things that I know in terms of rumors and chatter out there. And there's been a consistent, narrative when it came to the Ottawa Senators that they're looking for pros. They're looking for veteran guys who are good examples to provide an example for the young players who right now don't see. And I understand that completely, but he connected Chris Tanev to Ottawa. The problem is Chris Tanev is a pending free agent. Now, they could trade him there if Ottawa's willing to give up assets to get him, but there's no guarantee they're going to be able to sign him unless they overpay him.
What's his contract right now?
4.7, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pricey. That's why. Let's see here. He is 4.5, and he's 34 years old. So I don't know. I mean, exactly. Andrew in the chat is like, how does Tanev help Ottawa? Well, I mean, like I said, they're looking for good pros. They're looking for, and I don't think. I'm sorry, GSM. Elliot does not make up things, and that's that.
No. He's not making it up.
He's being told that there's some interest there, but the only thing yes, Tanev is a good pro. I've heard a lot of stuff about Tanev going to Toronto, not in season at the deadline, but as a free agent. And I don't think Ottawa, unless they're willing to give up something to have Tanev come in for the last 20 games, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, maybe, this is where Chychrun would go if Calgary knew they could sign him.
Well, it would be a much bigger deal.
Right. But that would be the basis of it, the start of it.
Yeah, the question is, with Ottawa, and Chychrun is one of the few guys that we're mentioning that's not a UFA this year, but he's a UFA after next season.
Right.
It seems to be a Alex DeBrincat type situation with Ottawa where they must know they can't get him signed.
Maybe.
And if they can't get him signed, then they're going to move him with a year left to get something for him, like they got something for DeBrincat. And they didn't get a ton for DeBrincat, but they got something. And if they know the guy's going to walk away, I mean, they're not going to be a contender next year, no matter what they do.
No. But you could trade him straight up for like Noah Hannafin if you could sign Hannafin.
Right, which is unlikely because the rumor is Hannafin wants to go to a U.S.-based team. But yeah, if they could trade for somebody who they could retain long term, then it would make sense.
Yeah, you need a U.S.-based team in Boston, but I don't know if they'll have the money for Hannafin.
Right. Now, okay, Vlad Tarasenko, $5 million cap hit.
Nobody
Right
wants him
So you don't think he gets traded?
for $2.5 million. No.
Okay,
A lot-
little side bet here. I think he gets traded. He's got 32 points in 43 games. He's a plus 12.
Yeah, but what's his playoff deal these days? Let's look up his playoff numbers. So
Okay, let's see here.
12 points with the Rangers in 7 games, 9 and 12, 2 and 4. I mean, he's not a huge difference maker in the playoffs anymore.
He had 4 goals in 6 games in 2014, 6 goals in
Forget 2014.
Okay,
That's a different guy.
Yeah, let's okay. 20 in 2016 he had 15 points. The year that St. Louis won the cup, he had 11 goals in 26 games. 6
and
goals.
that year, there's all kinds of strife with him on the team.
Yeah. 2022 in 12 games, he had 9 points, 6 goals, 3 assists, and he had 3 goals in 7 games. He still can contribute. I think
considering I have to give up assets and pay that money, no thanks.
Okay. I mean, okay. If I'm a team that needs a scorer,
but he doesn't score enough. This is a guy.
Russ.
Did that really help the Rangers last year?
Well,
No.
3 goals in 7 games.
That didn't help them. They needed more out of a guy like that.
Well, no, they needed more from other players. Remember, after the first few games, they didn't get anything out of almost everybody. So I'm sorry. If I'm a team,
no, it's not a good enough thing. No.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Okay. Will he get traded? You're saying no. I'm saying yes. Little side bet there. Okay. So, okay. I don't know whether this guy, even though he's got a low salary, will draw much of anything, and that's Dominic Kubalik. He's got 9 goals in 41 games.
What's the salary?
$2.5 million.
Maybe because he's 1 point something, someone will do that.
Right. And then other than that, really,
it's another guy. Nobody's looking for him for goal scoring, but as a extra guy who might be able to knock in a goal, yeah, that's fine. Because of his salary, it's much cheaper.
Now, the last team we'll look at, and then we'll probably be back on Wednesday. I'm not sure about Friday because of the All-Star festivities up in Toronto. I may be up there. But the Montreal Canadiens are, in my mind, very interesting. Sean Monahan is drawing a lot of mention. He's having a pretty decent year. He's got size. He's not bad defensively, although some people think he's not very good. I'd be interested to see what Randy thinks of that.
I don't think he kills you defensively.
Yeah, it's a question. It's mostly a question of where you're going to place him. If he's a number 2,
I mean, what's Randy going to say? He's no Joe Mullen? Like, what's he going to say?
He's no Doug Gilmour. No, if he's a number 2, I don't think he's a great number 2.
No.
If he's a 3, that's a pretty good number 3.
Right. And that's why the Rangers are getting named for him.
Yeah, the salary is 1.985. So that's not.
So they retain on that. He's $800,000. That's good. I can see New York trying to get him pretty heavy.
Now they can only retain on one player because they retained on Edmondson and they retained on Petrie. So, now I don't think they'll have to retain on Monahan. I think
they probably won't. Most teams could probably afford him.
Now the only other UFA is Tanner Pearson, and
I don't know, since the hand injury, whatever. What's his scoring like?
8 points in 30 games. So obviously that's
an issue.
That's an issue. And he's a $3.25 million cap.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you have a better chance of getting picked up.
I can't skate anymore. The other name is Jake Allen, and Jake Allen's got another year at 3.85. And to me, that's what kills him, because if he was a rental, I think there'd be a lot more. If he was a
rental, he'd be like the number 1, number 2 rental.
Yeah, he's a .901 save percentage right now, and they're playing Caden Primo and Samuel Montembeau over him or with him. So he's he's sort of getting the Craig Anderson treatment where he's 33 years old. He's playing one game a week. So I don't know what you're going to get for him unless you think he's an upgrade on what you already have.
Right.
Randy said Monahan is no Milan Lucic.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, see, a second-round pick, I think the Rangers would give a second-round pick for Monahan.
I think they're going to – if there's interest for more than just the Rangers.
Yeah, then they might drop out of it. But I'm just saying, if it's like a strict, hey, we'll do it for a second, I think they probably do it.
I think it'll have to be a conditional one, meaning like if they make the conference final.
I don't know if it would be that, honestly. But I think I know what Larry Brooks wrote, and the only reason I would diverge from what he said was you brought in Laviolette, you were in first place, so there has to be some hope that you could at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if there is, then you have to give a second for Monahan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. But, like if a team out there says, okay, well, if we make the Stanley Cup final, you get a 1.
Yeah.
I think
Allen to Philly for Peterson. Yeah, that's not happening, Drew.
No. Okay, what's the motivation there for? First of all, the Flyers are done. I hate to say it, the Flyers are done.
In the goaltending situation now. Yeah.
The Flyers are done. So, they're going to ride this out with Montembeault and
Right. We had said this.
And Peterson.
Yeah. Monahan to Colorado does make sense.
Yes. But the problem is you're really slow up the middle after McKinnon. You're Johansson and Monahan.
Yeah. And I think they'd offer up Milan Hajduk for that.
I think he's retired, Russ.
How old is Milan Hajduk? He could still play.
He's in his 40s, right? Didn't his son get drafted by the Avalanche?
I don't think he got drafted. I watched him play. He was marginal. Milan, let's see. He may have gotten drafted though, but
I think he did. I think he got drafted.
Yeah, Milan's 47. Come on.
Okay.
You're only looking for 20 games out of him.
Yeah, well, they've got enough old guys in Zach Parise. Do you want to give NHL Draft Buzz a plug?
I will. Hold on, I'm looking to see if his son got drafted.
Plug.
Marek. Let me see if Marek got.
He's named after Jeff Marek?
Yeah. Sadly, yeah.
Dan B says Hockey Buzz stand up. Yeah. Where's the rim shot? Boom.
No, see, he's still playing with Harvard, and he's not drafted. He's got 5 points in 19 games. I see him every year, and anyhow. So NHLDraftBuzz.com. You can check out my new list. As Drew was asking me last time, I did drop Cole Eiserman a bit. I dropped him like 4 spots, but he's not going to drop out of the top 10 for me. I still have some undecided players. So if you see like 3 or 4 players that might be in other lists, there are some that I'm still undecided on, meaning I've got to put more work in. But again, there's just one me, and I'm spread pretty thin. When you have guys that do lists, sometimes they have big companies behind them. So I'm not. So I have to kind of go through, my process, which can be slower. But again, I want to point out, one year I was getting killed. Where's Max Domi? Where's Max Domi? Where's Max Domi? I said, I got to still see more of them. I finally put him in the list, but I didn't put him where people wanted him. And, Max Domi, I think since his draft year has been a little underwhelming. I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah, I think the problem is in seeing what he has done in Toronto. He hasn't played badly for Toronto this year, but the thing is, I think he's a better winger than a center. They started him on the wing. He didn't play well there. They moved him to center out of necessity. Now he's a third-line center, and he's okay, but defensively, he's not good enough to be a third-line center. He's not a checking guy. It's more of a third-line offensive line, and I don't think teams are looking for offense from their third lines. They're looking for defensive, two-way ability, and he's just not that type of player. So,
a big riser for me was Liam Greentree, because I finally started to get a lot of views on him, and he's like a house on fire right now.
Right.
And TJ Ginla, who's Jerome's son, very good player. Right now,
is he a first rounder?
he's a first rounder for sure. I do feel like he's going to be a riser too. So, we'll see.
Oh, great bloodlines. Obviously,
No, he does everything. Like, he knows how to play hockey.
And where is he playing right now?
He is playing for Kelowna.
Okay.
And then somebody who's outside the first round, and I don't know if he's going to get in, but I really like him as a player, is Max Plant, and that's also a bloodline thing. His dad played for the Sabres. Really smart kid. Like, this guy can definitely play NHL hockey. Derek is his dad.
Oh, Derek Plant? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can play, man. He is worldly. I just don't know how much offense he can do, but he could definitely be a guy that is a bottom six guy who can definitely help your offense a little, but is really smart defensively. Can play anywhere. Like, he can play center, but I don't think he's that. I think he's a winger. I think as a winger, maybe his best chance to, start scoring, but he's super smart. Like, his zone entries are smart, but I think he's a second rounder.
It's really interesting. The last couple drafts, and we'll just end after this, is like, you just said Derek Plant's son, Dave Snuggerud, his son, Jimmy is I'm going to go out on a limb. I think Jimmy's going to be a better pro than his dad. Not to throw his dad under the bus, but his dad was an okay player, but he has the ability. It was St. Louis that drafted him, right?
Yeah.
First round. Yeah, he has the ability. He could be 25 to 30 goal scorer in the NHL based on his ability. Yannick Perreault's son he played great at the World Junior. He's got a lot of talent.
He's stronger now. I watched him, at USA camp. I like him better now than I liked him a year ago. Still has a little bit to prove to me, but I see the path.
I don't think he's an NHL center.
No, but he's got great hands, and in the end, he can score goals.
His dad was one of the best face-off guys ever. I asked him at the combine whether he was as good as his dad on face-offs, and he said no. But I don't know.
I mean, neither son was that. Remember, he had a brother too that got drafted, and really, he's going to be the best of. Yeah, he'll be the best of them. So, but no, I do like Perreault. The other thing is, I was going to mention somebody else. No, I'm good. It's fine. They're, as far as like second generations. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. Centers are hard to come by in this draft. Really good ones. Like, Celebrini may be the only top line center guarantee in this draft. I don't think there's another guaranteed top line center in the whole draft. So anybody who you're getting you're projecting if you're, and that's part of it, but there's no guarantee. And I think that's a big deal. So there are some centers like at the end of my list that are pretty good. Maybe one of them turns into it, you never know.
Yeah. All right. Great show. We'll be back on Wednesday for another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast for the departed, even though he was barely on the show, Peter Tessier. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.